Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's bright and early, daily discipline, mind, body, and soul. This is how we get through Friday. Hope you guys had a good week. Hope you guys have a good weekend planned. Go do something fun. Have some adventure. Maybe you just want to program. Maybe you just want to stay on your lifestyle management, your discipline, grind forward. Let's answer a couple questions today. I had someone ask me about the use of psychedelic drugs in order to do therapy for PTSD, and that's rather trendy now. People are taking everything from ayahuasca, peyote, mushrooms, LSD, and other stuff in these guided trips, as you call them, guided experiences. And you take a mild amount. They don't get you super wasted, although that is somewhat hard to regulate because everybody's different. And the people that are doing this are not scientists or doctors. They're not taking blood tests and researching your system. They just say, oh yeah, this will be good. So you take a little bit, get a little high, and they guide you through a therapy session. Now, I've taken massive amounts of psychedelic drugs. I didn't just experiment with psychedelic drugs. I took lots and lots and lots of psychedelic drugs for many years. I dove way down that rabbit hole. I can't tell you how many times I've seen God, how many times I've had the whole world just crash down, trees turn into elephants and they fly away. Ugh. I've been there, done that. Do I think it works to cure PTSD? Personally, I do not think it works. I do understand why some people think that it works, because after one of these guided trips, or I wouldn't say after, during one of these guided trips, during the guided trip, while you're experiencing it in the moment, it may feel rather life-changing, and it often does. One of the reasons why it feels that way is because LSD in particular, different psychedelics do different things, and even different batches of LSD do different things, but psychedelics in general can open up a part of your brain, access a part of your brain that may feel like information from the world hits your senses harder, and that something may look more beautiful, more interesting, and then you combine that with hallucination and with access to these very receptive part of your brain that it feels like you're having these really deep moments, these conversations that are just mind-blowing. You're really figuring stuff out. That's what it feels like in the moment. And you can just be like, wow, I'm going to remember this forever, and this is so awesome, and we figured out the meaning of life. We figured out what God is. I figured out my own self, my past, who I am, what I am. I figured it all out. You haven't. And the reason why I know this is because I've done it hundreds of times. And every time when the stuff wears off, whatever drug that I'm on, when it's completely worn off, when the trip is over, the meaningful words are no longer meaningful. I've even taken written poetry and written down just what I thought was the most meaningful statements and quotes and ideas and philosophies. And then when I go back to read it, anticipating some sort of life-changing moment. Oh, this is it. I found it. Oh, this is great. My life's so much better now. It's laughable. The stuff that you read, it's nonsensical bullshit. It's usually just very shallow and meaningless. You can create meaning where there isn't meaning. So, I don't believe that psychedelic drugs help you with your PTSD. I personally, this is just me, you guys can go and do it if you want. Go do anything you want. I don't care. I'm just telling you what I believe. I think that you need to handle post-traumatic stress disorder sober. And I don't think using any sort of drug at all, any kind of drug, helps. And if you're a former drug addict, to go and do one of these sessions, these guided trips, is literally the wrong direction that you need to be going in. If you're a recovering addict, do not consider using drugs. You're done with drugs. You've done your drugs. You're done now. No more. I don't even like taking the drugs the doctor gives me. I'm very suspicious of that stuff. And I always tell them, hey, I'm a recovering addict. Don't give me some bullshit. I only want to take what's necessary. I don't take painkillers. I went through several teeth being pulled just a month or two ago before getting some dentures. And people were asking me what kind of painkillers I'm on. I didn't take no painkillers. Painkillers are for pussies. Drugs are for pussies. I don't take nothing, man. I'll take a Tylenol when I get a headache. That's it. So that's my opinion on that. I had another question asking me about pornography. So let's talk a little bit about porn. Porn is self-abuse, self-harm. And that's an interesting way of looking at it. I never really thought about it that way before. It's literally self-harm. You're harming your brain. You're harming yourself. You're making yourself more lonely. If you're lonely, if you're alone, I should say, and if you're not in a relationship, you don't have a partner, you're not having sex, which is many people, and you're masturbating to make yourself feel better or something, it's like any other drug. It may feel good for that 2-3 seconds that you have that release, but in your brain, psychologically speaking, you're taking another step down that path of loneliness, of reminding yourself that you're alone. Another way that pornography is self-abuse is that it is a vice. It's a pleasure-seeking vice. You're chasing desire. That's a form of weakness. Chasing vice is escape. Escapism is weakness. Being a drug addict, being an alcoholic, it's pure weakness. And you can get addicted to masturbation, to that feeling, to the afterglow. And you're no different than a heroin junkie, really. It's not self-love. Pornography is self-abuse because it can inspire anger, can make you angry. It can leave little seeds of anger and bitterness in you. You may be angry at your ex, angry that you've never had a girl, angry that women don't find you attractive, angry that the woman in the video would never, ever have sex with you. Become bitter. Bitter towards women in general. It's interesting how when guys who absorb a lot of porn, who are addicted to porn, and you interview them about just their philosophy and thoughts about women in general, they sound really angry and bitter towards women. Pornography is self-abuse because it can give you guilt and shame. That's typically the experience that you have when you're done, is guilt and shame, especially if someone catches you. If someone caught me masturbating, I'd be shameful and guilty and embarrassed. If somebody caught me having sex with my wife, I would just look over and give them a thumbs up, say, "Could you shut the door, please?" There's a big difference. Pornography is self-abuse because you turn into a cuckold. You turn into a cuck. You're basically watching some other dude's dick. How many dicks have you seen? Looking at dicks. That's what your porn is you're looking at dicks and you're looking at some guy, some other guy, have sex with a woman that you want, that you desire. He's banging her over here and you're in the corner sitting there just watching. I've been on safari. And there's some pack animals where they have this experience, and there's a dominant alpha male who will go over and take the woman that he wants. And then there's a whole bunch of other weak little beta males that are just sitting over kind of off to the edge watching like, oh man, that's you. Pornography is self-abuse because it fuels a depravity of society and of you as an individual. You're reminding yourself that you're deprived of this activity of love, and you're fueling that. Every time that you log on to Pornhub or whatever, you're fueling your depravity. And the final reason, we can end here, of why pornography is self-abuse is because it's literally a loss of manhood. You lose your manhood when you absorb too much porn, when you're engaged with porn, and that becomes a part of your schedule, your lifestyle. One of the ways, I could talk about that for another half an hour, of how porn makes you lose your manhood. But one of the ways is that it causes men, especially young men, and this has been well studied, it causes them to lose their ability to protect women. They end up hating women, to have an animosity towards women, to want to punish women, look at sex as a punishment. Instead of I'll show you love, it's kind of just I'll show you, bitch, taking out your frustration. And how many of you guys out there want to recreate all the horror that you see online with some of these acts, flipping her into different positions, choosing holes that shouldn't be chosen, doing positions that are for acrobats or athletes, turning sex into some sort of perverted sport rather than the ultimate experience of unity with another human and God all at the same time. You guys get off on rape videos. You get off on face fucking and choking. You get off on hardcore videos, on teen videos, old women and young boys, young girls and old men. You've given up on the idea of protecting children. You want to fuck them all. How many of you are these Christian conservatives crying about Epstein and all the pedophilia in the Catholic Church, and meanwhile you log on to Pornhub jacking off to teen porn? You fucking hypocrite, burn in hell.